horrible ride. I would say, oh, there you go, there's a nice bump for you. Like, I beat on this thing. That anyway, then. Oh my god. What's going on, guys? Now you can probably tell that we're not going to be working on the car in this video. It's been off the road for about a week at this point because I've been working on the rear brakes, but now I finally get to drive it again. I thought this would be a great time to make this video. You will see a video coming on the brakes soon, so if you're not already subscribed to this channel, make sure you do, otherwise you might miss it. But what I want to do today is revisit something that got cut short the last time I tried to do this. And it also gives me a chance to talk about something that I promised you guys quite a while ago now. And that's the first drive video. If you remember rightly, we got maybe 30 seconds into the drive and we had that awful whine from the gearbox. The gearbox was done, we had to replace that, and we never got to go back and revisit that. So today we finally get to drive this thing and show you, what I think of it and maybe address a few other things. And I also wanted to let you know how I'm getting on with the lowering springs, because I told you I'd do like a little review or, my thoughts on them after I filmed that video doing them. And I never did it. So you're getting that today as well. So let's jump in the car and get this video started. Yes, I know, I still don't have this stupid piece of trim, I'm working on it. Okay, so yeah, we're just gonna go for a little drive and, tell you what I think of this car and maybe address some of the things that still need doing to it. And like I said as well, I also want to get into, my thoughts on the lowering springs. Now, I'm not too sure what the audio quality is gonna be like on this, but if you'll have heard already, there's quite a bit of rattling and yeah, I'm not sure that's down to the suspension as such, but it kind of points at a few things that I want to get done in the near future. Now, the first thing I want to get into is the way these cars look. Now, these Fiestas, I think they look amazing, especially for their time. Like, I really do like the way these cars look. I don't think the ST has a bad angle at all. I used to have a ZTEC S, and on that one, the side view, I wasn't really too keen on the side profile of them. I think it was because of the, it doesn't have the side skirts. I think externally that's pretty much the only difference. I'm not sure if the ZTEC S has the same spoiler. I can't remember, it might be slightly smaller, but other than that, the bumpers are the same and the wheels are different, obviously. But the STs, I think from any angle, these things look gorgeous. And even more so when you do bits to them, like the TRC lowline kit. Unfortunately, I've only got the front splitter at the moment, but the rest of the lowline kit is definitely something that I want to get. But there's so many things you can do to these, sort of styling wise. So you're definitely not going to be short of options with that if the standard look isn't totally what you're after. But even standard, these things do look great. They need lowering a little bit, which this one is, as I've said, and as you've probably seen if you've been following the channel for a while. The interiors are also pretty nice. I mean, for the age of the car, I can't really complain. It's got aux, which is about as good as it gets technology-wise in one of these. So, that's not amazing, but again, for the year, it's not really anything to worry about. You can get aftermarket radios, nice big doubled-in screen, which, hopefully we'll look to do at some point. There's plenty of options around for that. The seats, leather seats in this one, I think they're amazing. Nice and hot when you need heated seats, like that's a bonus. One thing you don't get with the cloth ones, I don't think they came heated. I think it's only the full leathers, which this has. Some things do look a little bit dated, like the window switches and things like that. I mean, I'm not a massive fan of the steering wheel. I've seen some different options with regards to that. But, that's pretty much it for the interior. There's not an awful lot to shout about. But there are some things you can do if you want to spruce yours up. Now, one thing I've always heard people say about Mark 6 Fiestas, and the STs in particular, and I noticed it on my old ZTEC S as well for the short time I drove that for, but that's a story for another day, and that's the handling. Like, for me, these cars handle so well for what they are, and for the price you can pick one of these up for these days, they're great little cars. Now, the one thing that always gets me when you talk about handling, and that's the thing that, like, if someone's trying to sort of defend their car, or not necessarily defend their car, but describe it to you, and they say, oh, but it handles really well, which is normally code for it's not very quick, but at least it handles well. That's what a lot of people say anyway. But I mean, again, getting onto the power side of these things, for what they are, for the price you can pick them up for these days, and for the age of them as well. Like, you've got to remember, these cars have been around since what, 2002. I don't know if they made an ST in 2002, but the Mark 6 Fiesta started in 2002, and you know, 150 horsepower standard from, yeah, alright, it was a 2-litre engine. It's a fairly big engine for the size of the car, but it's a great little package, and even by today's standards, they're not underpowered by any means. And there's a lot of things you can do to these to really get quite a bit more out of them. They're not very tunable standard in terms of like putting a map on them straight away. The red one you've seen on the channel, that has a map on it apparently, and to be fair, driving it, I have driven it, and you can notice a slight difference, but I mean, I highly doubt this is running the 150 horsepower it came out the factory with. But there are other routes to go down. It's definitely something that I really want to do with this car, if it survives that long. I'm hoping it does, because I've already got some of the parts in my shed waiting to go on this thing. But getting some really good power into these can be quite expensive. I'm sure you'll have seen videos on this recently. There's plenty of posts on Facebook about it, and there's a couple of guys on YouTube doing it, or that have done it in the past. If you really want to go down the rabbit hole, you can look at boosting and things like that, the same as you can with most cars if you wanted to, and if you've got deep enough pockets. But if you have, this probably isn't the car you want to do it on if you're going to be paying someone else to do it for you. And it's certainly no mean feat to try and tackle yourself if you haven't got the skills, the tools, the knowledge, and a little bit of help along the way, because it's something not most people can do on their driveway or in their garage at home. So I definitely think there is a limit to how far, not how far you can go, but how far you realistically should be trying to go with one of these. Like, they're not the fastest out of the box, and if you're really chasing power figures and crazy numbers and things like that, then this probably isn't the car to be doing it on, in my personal opinion. But if we can get that skill set in the future and I can do some of these things myself, maybe we'll look at doing that at some point, because it would be fun to do, and I do think this would be a good base to do it if we decide to go down that route. That being said, engine bay space is at a premium in these things, because like I said before, it's a 2-litre engine in a tiny little car, and you can be quite pushed for space sometimes. Now, I didn't really want to do like a review of an ST150, because there are hundreds out there that you could go and watch, and why is my opinion any better than anyone else's? It's not, but some people like to hear what we've got to say, and my overall thoughts on these things, they are great little cars, and like I said, you can pick them up for good money these days. This one only cost me £1,000, but it did need a lot of work doing. I've done a lot of work on it already, but there's still plenty of things that I need to do, so I guess I want to talk about those things as well. Now, if you've been watching the channel for a while, you'll know that we replaced the gearbox in this thing not long after I had it. That was what cut the first drive video short, if you'll remember. We did the first drive video, and like seconds into that I heard this horrible whining. It was the first time I'd actually had the car out on a decent road. I drove it very low speeds around the town where I bought it from, and I didn't hear that whine. As soon as I got out onto the main road and hit like third gear, you could just really hear that whining noise. But we've sorted that out. We replaced the gearbox. I'm not totally sold on it, because this gearbox has got its own problems. Like, when I put it in reverse, the reverse lights don't come on, and I know it's not the bulbs, and I know it's not the switch or any of the wiring. Means if I press the switch manually, I can get a reading on the multimeter, and the bulbs actually light up as well. The problem is the actual thing in the gearbox that when you put it in reverse, that actually presses the switch, that's not working. And I do think that's a gearbox apart job or a replacement to actually fix that. I've still got the original gearbox that came out of this thing, and the plan is I want to rebuild that at some point. Now, I'll make a pretty good video. I'm just a bit put off by the sort of daunting task of taking a gearbox apart, but it's definitely something I want to do, because that's what I do on this channel, DIY things. That's what you guys want to see, I hope, and that's what I'm going to do anyway, because that's what I enjoy doing. That was one of the biggest issues that we had to tackle with this car. I mean, we did brakes all round, but that's a wear and tear part anyway, so that's not anything sort of too taxing. What else have we done? In terms of maintenance, it's been pretty generic things like replacing a water pump. We've serviced this thing, but again, that's something you do all the time anyway. What else have we had to do? Oh, we replaced the alternator, we replaced the starter motor. They were kind of knock-on effects from the gearbox thing, I think. Well, it felt like it anyway. It felt like a chain reaction. We replaced the gearbox, and then the starter motor went. I think I might have damaged it putting it back in, so that was probably my fault. But then we got the starter motor back in, it ran for a couple of days, and then the alternator died, and we had to replace that. And that is still, to this day, hands down, the worst job that I've done on this car, and probably any car, if you ask me. Yeah, probably one of the worst things. So let's get on to some of the things that still need doing to this car. I've probably missed off some of the things I've done already, but you don't really need to hear all that. So some of the things that I think this car still needs, I don't know if you can hear, so we're going back to the whole suspension side of things. I wanted to talk about these springs actually. Now, the ride height, these are just sort of, I wouldn't say they're eBay special springs. I got them secondhand off Facebook, and the guy told me that they were, he didn't tell me the brand, but he did show me a screenshot. I'll see if I can find it, but if not, I know roughly what the name of them was. They were either, I think they were like Apex lowering springs or something like that. There is a brand called A-Max, and I believe they're slightly cheaper, but the screenshot he showed me said that these springs, when he bought them, were 109, 110 pounds, something like that, off eBay. So it's possible that these are slightly on the more expensive side of lowering springs, but I mean, looking at them, they're just painted yellow, which a lot of the cheaper eBay specials, I like to call them, that's what the same colour as a lot of those are, so I can't be 100% sure. The ride is pretty bumpy around here, but I'm on country roads, so it is to be expected. They're not actually too bad over speed bumps and things like that, but if they are the ones he says they are, then they're not too far off the price of an iBack Pro kit. So in my opinion, just purely based on the branding of those, I mean, I don't know anyone that's got those springs, but I would say, oh, there you go, there's a nice bump for you. It did that anyway then. Oh my god, right, okay. I don't know if you would have seen that on camera, but that's something I need to get onto in just a minute. But yeah, going back to the springs just quickly, if they are the ones that he said they were and for the price they were, I do think that you'd possibly be better off going for the iBack kit, just because they're not that much more expensive, and you know, just for the brand more than anything. I mean, I'm sure they're not amazing, you know, compared to like coilovers or as comfy as the standard suspension or anything like that, but I definitely think that if you're going to shell out £100 plus for lowering springs, you're better off getting something that's tried and tested. However, if they do turn out to be, I guess I'll never find out, but if they do turn out to be the sort of cheaper £50-60, maybe slightly more than that, lowering springs that you can find, like I said, like A-Max I think is a brand that do them, and there's plenty of others floating around on the internet as well that you can find for these cars. If it is those, then I'm pretty impressed with them. Yes, it's rattly, it's not too low. I think if you went much lower on just springs, it probably would be a horrible ride, but it's not that bad, and like I say, I drive everywhere on country roads, so I mean, you can probably hear it. It probably doesn't sound or look very good on the camera, but you know, I'm not put off by them. I don't find them that uncomfortable, and you know, I quite happily continue to run these. But that was never the plan. The idea was, well, the idea wasn't even to put lowering springs on it, because they just sort of came up on Facebook one day. I got them really cheap. I got them for like £40, which if they are the more expensive ones, which he claimed they were, then that's a pretty good deal, and I'm quite happy with them. But what I'd really like to do is compare these to some coilovers. I'd like to start off by maybe doing some more sort of budget coilovers and see how they compare to lowering springs, see if there's, you know, it's actually worthwhile going on and doing that. Because what a lot of people seem to post on the Facebook pages is, you know, what should I go for? Should I just cheap out and go for lowering springs? Is it worth having coilovers? Is it worth getting cheap coilovers? Things like that. And then maybe one day, if this car survives, I mean, it is rattling like hell at the moment on this road, so we'll have to see on that one. But if it does, then maybe we could get some more expensive coilovers in the future. I'm not looking at getting anything that could maybe go on track or anything like that, but I'd definitely like to get something, you know, a bit more high-end, just really to do a comparison for you guys, because you see all this stuff online, but it's very difficult when you ask people for their opinion, because a lot of people have just had one, maybe two. Like, you know, you could ask me, should you go for lowering springs? And I'd probably tell you, if you're on a budget, yes. But then you'd have other people like, no, don't get lowering springs, you need coilovers. But they might have only had coilovers and don't know how they compare to lowering springs. They might get lowering springs and save a bit of money and have been pleasantly surprised, but you never know. So I'd really like to do that. I'd like to go from, I had the standard suspension, I've had lowering springs on it now. I'd like to upgrade one day in the not too distant future and get some sort of, like I say, budget coilovers, and then eventually go on to something a bit more upmarket and see how they compare as well. Now, the few things that definitely do need sorting. Like I said at the start, I'm not sure how good the audio is going to be, but you might have heard there is a bit of a rumbling from the back, and there's also a bit of a whirring noise, or you might call it rumbling noise. I don't know what the correct description is, but this car also is desperately in need of 1, 2, maybe all 4 wheel bearings doing pretty soon. They are making quite a bad noise, and some people have described it sounding like there's an angry wasp in the back of this thing if you're sitting in the back. So that's definitely something we need to get sorted. The sort of rumbling sound coming from the back and some of the noises that it makes when we go over bumps, that's potentially something else that I need to get sorted. So what I think that is, and going back to that what happened a couple of minutes ago when I said, I'm not sure if you saw that, it always does it on that corner, it always has, it's done it since I got the car, so I definitely don't think it's the lowering springs. If anything, the lowering springs have helped it, which kind of makes me think it is what I'm thinking it is, even more. So basically what happens is the back of this car is really twitchy. Like, you can be going over a bump or something, especially if you're turning. So if you're going around a corner like I was back there and going over a bump like I was back there, as you come around the corner and hit that bump, the car kind of bounces and it like skips out. You feel the back end just skip out. It's like it's bouncing along, and like it almost feels like something's loose at the back, like something's not bolted in properly, and like the whole back end just shifts to one side. And it is quite scary. I think if you're doing any sort of speed, it might exaggerate that. Like I said, it was a lot worse when I first got the car, before I put the lowering springs on it. So I don't know if that's because of like the travel or something like that. It exaggerates it more when you've got sort of more travel on the rear suspension. I don't really know, but what I've been told that probably is the axle bushes. Now, I bought axle bushes for this. I think I actually bought them in preparation for when we did the lowering springs video. We were going to do it all over Christmas, but the lowering springs took that long and there was other jobs to do that I just never got around to doing them. So I have the axle bushes, and I also have the special tool that you need to do those, so that will be coming up in a video very soon. Another thing I think I'll probably do when I do the axle bushes is get some new top mounts for the rear shocks, because they probably haven't been changed for a long time, if ever. So I think it'd be a good idea to do those while we're in there, because it's just a case of a couple of bolts to take the shocks out, and then we can pop new top mounts on there. And if they are worn or anything like that, then hopefully that will go some way to sorting it out as well. And the last little thing that I really think this car could do with sorting out is the exhaust. The exhaust knocking really badly underneath. I think there's like a brace that goes across. I think that's what it's knocking on. I have been under there, and I have actually, at this point, I had put an exhaust system on this car. Now, you haven't seen that yet because it's no longer on the car. I'm working on doing the video for that, but I'm a bit I don't really know where I'm at with it, because I did the exhaust, but I haven't still got it on the car, so I'm a bit in two minds on whether or not I actually show that. But since I put the standard exhaust back on, it has been knocking really badly, and I've also noticed that the exhaust blowing, and it's now I know about it, it's even more noticeable, so we definitely need to get that sorted soon. And I know that's something that you guys will look forward to, because if there's one thing I've learned from doing this, that's that you guys love mod videos rather than fixing things. Just so happens that unfortunately this car still needs an awful lot of stuff fixing, but that's how it goes sometimes, and that's what we're going to do. But I think that's pretty much going to do it for this video. I didn't expect it to be very long, but I've had a look at the timer, and I've actually been talking for quite a while, so hopefully it won't be too long and too boring for you guys. But I just wanted to give you sort of my take on the ST150 overall. I mean, obviously this one's a little bit battered, but in general, as you can tell, I think they're pretty good cars, otherwise I wouldn't have bought one. But yeah, I just wanted to give you, like, my views on the cars in general, and a bit more about this one in particular, some of the things we've done to it and how I feel about them, and also, some of the things it still needs doing, and some of the things I'd like to do to it in the future. I'm just rocking up at home now, but before we end, there's just something I want to show you really quickly about these cars. Now, I see a lot of posts of people asking what sort of MPG everyone's getting, and then everyone just replies, oh, you don't buy an ST150 for MPG. But I've had 238 miles out of, well, what, 3/4 of a tank on this thing, just under. And let's see what I'm doing on average. I've got 59 miles left. I mean, I'm averaging 30.9 miles to the gallon in this thing. And that's definitely not bad for the age of the car, and for the fact that, like I've said before, it's a 2-litre engine. A 2-litre engine, back when these were made, tend to be really uneconomical. And I don't think the 30 miles to the gallon, and you might be thinking, oh, you must drive it like a grandma or whatever, but I don't. Like, I beat on this thing. Maybe you didn't see it so much in this drive, there was a lot of traffic about, whatever, but like, I like to have fun in this car. I like to think I drive it the way it was meant to be enjoyed. But I think that MPG is pretty damn good, especially considering my commute's only 5 miles and the car's barely warm by the time I get to and back from work. So there you go, that's a little bit about my thoughts on the ST150 and a few little insights into what's going to be coming up with this car. Remember, you can check me out on Instagram where you'll find out what I'm up to before the videos go live. But that's going to do it for this video. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.